fall 2009. Her appointment as associate was partly based on her track record of scholarly productivity. Her book, Ethics in Policing, Misconduct and Integrity, published by Jones and Bartlett Publishers, had just been released. 3 other articles had been published in the 3 prior years, and she had written and submitted 10 grants, of which 5 were funded for over $300,000. Dr. Raines has continued this pace of productivity and has published 3 articles in her first 3 years here at Marist and has submitted 3 grant applications. Her goal is to be awarded a grant from the National Science Foundation or the National Institute of Justice, or both. The NIJ grant is about to be submitted, and she's working on an NSF grant to be submitted this summer. Last year, she attended the NSF Regional Grants Conference to build her skills and connections. Dr. Raines' combination of teaching, training in the law, as well as a doctoral education in public administration, provides her with a broad perspective on contemporary issues. Her recent articles look at never-before-released data from the El Al airline on passenger profiling, mental health diversion programs, and policy regarding ethical misconduct in law enforcement training. Journals include the Criminal Law Bulletin and the Law Enforcement Executive Forum. She is also active in making peer-reviewed presentations at her professional organizations, such as the Academy of Criminal Justice Science, where she just presented a paper earlier this month. Dr. Raines sees value in stimulating research activities with practitioners as a way of generating real data that can assist in improving services and outcomes in a broad range of criminal justice systems. This year, she has brought together representatives of a variety of agencies from the courts, policing, corrections, and service areas to identify their research needs. She is matching students with agency partners to provide practice research tasks for the agencies and to strengthen students' research skills and expand their interest in research practice. This collaboration group will be well poised to be partners in grant applications in the future. And as much as I'm here to acknowledge Dr. Raines' research accomplishments, I'm also pleased to say that she is an effective teacher both in the traditional classroom and online. She enjoys the use of technology in teaching. Just ask her about what an iPad can do to liven up classroom teaching. She has developed 2 online courses, the first for the Criminal Justice Department, and she's looking forward to the possibility of implementing a hybrid delivery of one of her courses soon. Dr. Raines also sees benefits in taking students on field trips to where the action is, such as the FBI in Brooklyn or One Police Plaza in New York City. Dr. Raines further engages with students as the faculty advisor to the Criminal Justice Society. The Criminal Justice Department and the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences are delighted to recognize and thank Dr. Raines for all of her accomplishments.
Notified about this award, the first thing that went through my mind was, did somebody make a mistake? Because I usually think of myself as a teacher and not as a researcher. So it was a bit of a surprise, and I really want to thank Margaret for nominating me, and I also want to thank the Library Development Committee basically for making this award possible here at Marist. When I first started the grand adventure of seeking a PhD, it was really so that I could teach. I thought of research as a nuisance or that hoop I'm going to have to jump through, right? And since that time, I've written a book, published all these journal articles, but the really surprising piece was that I did this grant writing that I did not expect, and it really paved the way for a lot of my research accomplishments so far. And I was thinking back on the first grant that I wrote, and basically it was denied. I looked at that as an opportunity, too, to get feedback from the grantor over the phone because they offered feedback, and not all grantors do that. So I expected, oh, it was written poorly, or you something very critical out, but that wasn't what they said at all. They said, ethics is not a priority for us right now. Really? You're admitting that to me? Ethics is not a priority? And the grantor representative over the phone went on to dig what I thought was an even bigger hole and say, well, we're interested in research on hiring and retention of government employees. And I thought, retention of government employees. So now I had to think, do I alienate this person and say what's on my mind, or am I going to submit to this agency again? And I thought, I don't think I'll be submitting to them again. So I had to say it, well, aren't you interested in hiring and retaining ethical employees? Dead silence. Ethics is not a priority for us right now. And I thought, okay, I've learned something, which is finding out what is a priority is probably a good idea if you want to secure a grant, but it's also easier said than done. I've submitted a lot of grants, as Margaret said, most of which are rejected, which doesn't hurt my feelings, but most of which I never actually received feedback on, which is difficult. The few that have gotten through, though, have been extremely rewarding in the practical benefits of what we've accomplished through them. So I was able to start and maintain a regional mental health court that helps individuals who suffer from persistent mental illness be diverted into rehabilitation. I was able to take 11 graduate students to Mississippi on a service learning assignment post-Hurricane Katrina. And then from that, I was able to help a local fire department get funds to help restock their supplies from losing everything in Hurricane Katrina. So basically, I've realized that writing, research are not just some hoops that I have to jump through. Gathering research, analyzing data, publishing findings is very exciting to me. For me to be the first person to ask a question that hasn't been asked, or maybe the question's been asked, but no one could find the answer, or they tried to answer it, but they haven't been able to, maybe it hasn't been answered thoroughly enough, that kind of thing. To me, this is really exciting. So right now, I'm looking at police ethics training. And the number of infractions that occur in each state in the United States, which is a hard question to answer. A lot of people want the answer to that question. It's not collected. So I've been supervising students over the past year. They've been calling agencies, trying to find out how many hours of ethics law enforcement training do you give? And basically, have there been any infractions over the past year? Most of them aren't willing to answer that second question. For those who do, a lot of them don't know the answer to the question themselves. And then when they do answer it, a lot of times their response is inaccurate. So I started roaming the internet, my favorite place, and I came across the answer. Not collected by agencies that you would think. I looked to the FBI, I looked to a lot of different agencies, but I recently, within the past couple of months, stumbled on a website of an individual who's taken it upon himself to collect exactly the data I'm looking for. It's very methodologically sound. It's very thorough. There are over 4,800 cases just for the year 2010 of potential infractions. And so now I'm like a kid who just bought that latest video game and I'm ripping open the packaging and I don't want to read the instructions and I'm going to run home and play the game. I've found this data and it's very exciting. And so already I've started talking about the preliminary findings a couple of weeks ago at the Academy of Criminal Justice Sciences conference. And I was crunching data right up until the time I had to speak about it. And I'm already teaching with it in my policing class. And hopefully by the end of this semester, the end of the summer, I'll have a journal article out. So basically, to me, this is very exciting. And it is further proof that yes, I am a data geek. I'm very excited. But it's also evidence that, you know, research has taken me much further in my career than I ever expected. And so I believe very firmly that research is extremely important. And I subscribe to Dr. Seuss. The more you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. Thank you. to
you
keep
keep
it.
None of fun. So that's all. Thank you on behalf of the Library Development Committee to everyone for coming. I know we certainly appreciate the research that these two people do, and that goes on campus-wide. So again, on behalf of the committee, Vern Newton and Judy Dickendorf,